Settled with rain and showers, very strong winds at times, particularly across the far northwest where there is a yellow weather warning for wind in force. Across central and southern areas, quite cloudy as rain clears its way to the southeast. It is going to be clearer to the north of this, though plenty of blustery showers sweeping their way eastwards across the country. We could even see some hail and thunder mixed into these across northern areas and some snow mainly across hilly areas in Scotland. And those strong blustery northwesterly winds are really going to add on to the wind chill in the north, so feeling particularly chilly here, but largely mild in the south. Then to end the day on Saturday, still plenty of those blustery winds moving across coastal areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of showers too, these still falling as snow across hills in Scotland, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of those blustery showers and those strong winds, particularly around coastal areas, but even inland, winds could still be fairly strong. A few showers around Wales and some outbreaks of rain just clearing the far south. So across the southeast, it should be largely dry to end the day on Saturday, but overnight we're going to see more and more of those showers move through across the country, still falling as snow across high ground in Scotland, perhaps also seeing some flurries of snow at times across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and still very strong winds, that wind warning then extending across parts of Wales and the southwest by the time we reach Sunday morning. So a very blustery start to Sunday and feeling very chilly indeed in that brisk wind. Then through into Sunday, once again, another very unsettled day. It's going to be very windy across much of the country, particularly around western coast. Still plenty of these showers feeding through, merging into longer spells of rain at times across Scotland. Could also be heavy at times and still seeing that snow mainly across higher ground and feeling particularly cold in those brisk winds. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
We'll see a cold snap, which will quickly develop into a warm front. Boxed Boiler Repairs, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
In 2020, after almost 80 years, Oxford University's Pitt Rivers Museum removed its famous collection of shrunken heads with sewn-up lips and eyes made by the South American Shuar and Ashua people. How do museums decide what should be shown and what should be confined to storage? Can controversial exhibits be left on display with suitable contextualisation in captions? Who would want to be a curator facing such controversial questions? For review, I'm delighted to be joined by journalist Eitan Smallman. Welcome to GB News. I think many people, when they hear that we're going to discuss museums or art galleries, think that it's going to be, that wokery question. But it strikes me, and I think it strikes you too, that this is not just about wokery at all. There are some really interesting ethical questions here. For example, let's start with this one, and there are several examples of it. Should we be displaying human bodies, the remains of human beings? Should we be displaying them in museums?
Absolutely. It's not just the usual suspects, young snowflakes, who are objecting to these things. They're just naturally cultural shifts, and people of all ages and all political persuasions may feel uneasy about displaying human remains of any kind, especially human remains that have been taken against the will of the communities or taken violently. Hilary Mantel led a campaign to remove a 7-foot 7-inch skeleton of Charles Byrne, known as the Irish Giant, from the Hunterian Museum. He had specifically said that he didn't want to be displayed and didn't want to be taken by anatomists, and yet was displayed for a couple of hundred years until a couple of years ago. He hasn't had his the burial he requested, but he's no longer on public display.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning, hope you're well. I'm Ben Leo alongside Miriam Cates, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Well, it's great to have your company this morning, and we've got a great show ahead of us. But first, the headlines. And last night's Christmas market carnage has left 4 dead and over 80 injured after a car was driven into the crowd at a German Christmas market. Mark White has the latest.
Well, a child is among those who have been killed in this terrible atrocity that happened yesterday evening. German authorities treating this as a deliberate ramming attack.
Not sure about you guys at home, but new research has shown that Brits regularly feel guilty for putting ourselves first. TV personality and Geordie Shore star Charlotte Crosby will be here to share why we should prioritise self-care days.
And as Sir Keir Starmer lines up Lord Mandelson as Britain's new ambassador to the US, we'll cross live to New York to get reaction from Nelson Aspen.
And as the big day looms, have you wrapped all of your Christmas presents? Gift wrapping expert Jane Means will join us to put me and Miriam to the test live on air. Who will be crowned champion?
And we have all of the day's top stories with political correspondent at The Spectator, James Heal, and journalist and broadcaster Candice Holdworth.
Welcome to Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News.
So, Ben, I'm looking forward to going head-to-head with you later with this gift wrapping challenge. I think I've got quite a good chance. But have you wrapped anything yet?
No, no. I haven't even finished my Christmas shopping. I need to rush out today and do the last-minute bits. Hopefully certain people aren't watching, so they're not aware that I haven't yet bought many presents for them. But I think you'll probably beat me in the wrapping.
Well, we'll see. I haven't wrapped anything yet either. I normally do it all on Christmas Eve, and I get those, you know, those kind of sticky tape bands on your arm where you can just rip it off. That does make it a lot easier.
Good idea. I think Anne Diamond said for some reason women are probably generally much better at wrapping than men. Is that just because they do it more? The task falls to them?
It could be, but let us know what you think on your say. Is that a sexist comment or is it just true?
Well, Anne Diamond said it, not me. Anyway, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Big 2 hours coming up, but first, your news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you from the newsroom. It is just coming up to 3 minutes past 10. Well, let's start with an update on the situation in Germany, where we now know 4 people, including, sadly, a young child, have died and at least 80 others injured, 40 of them seriously, after a car was driven through a Christmas market at Magdeburg in Germany. The suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi doctor, has been arrested, but officials say that he is not known as an Islamic extremist. Sir Keir Starmer has called the attack horrific and expressed solidarity with Germany, while the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has also offered support to his counterpart. The tragedy comes just 8 years after a similar attack in Berlin, where 13 people were killed. Time is running out for pensioners here to claim pension credit and secure their winter fuel payment for this year, 2024 to 25. With the deadline now just hours away, online applications close at 11:59 p.m. and phone lines will be open until 3 o'clock this afternoon for any last-minute calls. Around 760,000 pensioners could miss out, with the benefit topping up weekly incomes and unlocking extra support. Well, the change, announced by Chancellor Rachel Reeves, means that winter fuel payments now go to only those on means-tested benefits, slashing recipients from 11.5 million to just 1.5 million pensioners. Scrap staff parking charges. That is the call from unions today, as new research has revealed that 1 in 4 NHS trusts in England have raised fees for patients, staff or both in the last 2 years. Patients' charities say the charges are unfairly penalising unwell people, while NHS leaders argue financial pressures leave trusts little choice but to charge. The rises, often targeting city centre hospitals, have seen earners pay more, while NHS staff collectively spent over £70 million on parking last year alone. Unions say health workers are on their knees and need extra support, not extra costs, as they face the strain of chronic understaffing. The Prince and Princess of Wales are funding a new programme to tackle mental health challenges in rural communities in Norfolk. Partnering with Norfolk and Waveney Mind, the 2-year pilot will provide counselling and targeted support for the 1,500 residents around the Sandringham estate. Set to launch in 2025, the initiative will include training for local employers to address issues like rural isolation and farming-related pressures. It's hoped the project could become a blueprint for mental health support on other rural estates across the UK. Crowds across the Northern Hemisphere have been gathering from the early hours this morning to get a sight of the winter solstice, marking the shortest day and longest night of the year. In London, there's just under 8 hours of daylight today. Sunrise was at 4 minutes past 8, sunset at 3:53 p.m, and even less for people further north. The solstice signals the return of longer days and is celebrated worldwide, from pagan Yule festivals to modern traditions inspired by ancient customs. Well, events at Stonehenge are among the most iconic, with thousands there to witness the so-called rebirth of the sun. And wet, windy and wild, Christmas travel plans for millions could be blown off course this weekend. Yellow weather warnings for wind cover much of the UK, with gusts of up to 80 miles an hour forecast for Scotland and northern coastal areas. The Met Office says that road, rail and ferry disruption is likely as millions hit the roads for Christmas, with Friday next week expected to be the busiest travel day since records began in 2010. Showers could also bring snow and icy conditions to parts of Scotland, with strong winds making Sunday's journeys exhausting, according to the RAC. Winds, though, will ease by Monday, but a mild and cloudy Christmas is on the cards for most of us. Those are the latest GB News headlines. I've always wanted to be a weather presenter. That was fantastic. Now it's back to Ben and Miriam.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good morning to you at home. Thank you for your company this morning. I'm with Miriam today. Good morning to you.
Morning.
It's my last Saturday morning live.
Yeah, very sad. And my first, so...
Good timing. 10 months I've been in the hot seat here, but all changed from the new year.
Yeah, got your own show.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Weekends, launching in the new year. It's got an action-packed show today, though. Lots going on overnight, not least this, the tragedy in Germany, where 4 people have been killed and over 80 injured after that car drove into crowds at a German Christmas market last night.
Well, the suspected attacker has been arrested at the scene, and he's believed to be a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia.
Images and video circulating online, too disturbing to air, we must say, show a car being driven at high speed right into the Christmas market. It was absolutely packed with people, and the vehicle appearing not to slow down.
Well, joining us now is GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White. Mark, very, very disturbing scenes here. Do we know any more about the attacker and his motive?
Yeah, the attacker has been named in German media as Taleb A. Abdul Rossen, we believe, or Abdul Mohsen. In Germany, under German privacy laws, they never normally publish the full surname, but just the first letter. But we understand his full name is Abdul Mohsen. He is a 50-year-old, originally from Saudi Arabia, who arrived in Germany in 2006 and claimed asylum, having fled Saudi Arabia, wanted by the Saudi authorities over allegations of rape and other criminal offences. However, the German authorities granted him refugee status in 2016 on human rights grounds. And during that time that he has been in Germany, he has been working in a hospital just 26 miles from the scene of this attack at that Christmas market. And we're told that as far as German authorities is concerned, they are absolutely treating this as a deliberate ramming attack. The exact motivation, the twisted logic behind the decision of the suspect to get behind the wheel of that vehicle and plough at high speed into all of those people in this Christmas market. We don't know yet. We haven't yet got to the bottom of that. The authorities had warned that the death toll was likely to rise, and we're getting word this morning that from an initial death toll of 2, including a young child, it has risen to 4, with more than 80 others injured. And many of those injured have suffered some very serious injuries. One eyewitness told reporters at this Christmas market that it looked like a war zone after this car ploughed through the hundreds of people inside this market, with bodies strewn all over the place, being triaged by paramedics and taken off to major trauma centres in the area.
OK, Mark White, thanks very much for that. Appreciate the update. Yeah, it's terrible scenes, and I know a handful of people have died, and it's an absolute tragedy. But bearing in mind the footage that I saw last night, it's a miracle that not scores of people didn't die.
I think there's quite a number who are seriously ill still in hospital, and we wait to see whether they'll make it through. Your thoughts and prayers with them.
Yeah, well, we're joined now by broadcaster and editor at City AM, Alice Denby. Good morning, Alice. Thanks for joining us.
Morning.
On Thursday, Surrey Police put out a warning and a tweet with a picture showing armed police, saying that police officers will be patrolling various Christmas markets across the UK as part of quote-unquote routine foot patrols. It all seems a bit unnerving, bearing in mind what we saw last night in Germany.
It's deeply unnerving, and I think what's so distressing about attacks like these is that they are attacks on our values, on the things that are supposed to bring us joy, and things that are supposed to bring us together as a society. And that's what's so disturbing about this. And of course, it's only 8 years since a very similar attack happened in Berlin.
Yes, and of course, lots of focus over the identity of the attacker. There's a lot of unrest in Germany about the level of immigration that has been seen over the last number of years. And the political outcome of this, given that the current German government is facing collapse, could be quite significant, couldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So Germany is having elections coming up in February. Their sort of traffic light coalition has fallen apart. And as you say, migration has been a particular issue in Germany. And if it's correct that the identity of this attacker is a foreign criminal, essentially, one can only speculate that that issue will only become more acute.
What's your thoughts about the UK situation at the moment, Alice? As I said, Surrey Police put that kind of it's meant to be a reassuring post out saying everything's fine, we've got armed police around our Christmas markets, but it's it's just routine. But I mean, should we feel safe going out and about today in London and elsewhere, the big cities, going to Christmas markets with our kids?
I think we should feel safe. I mean, it's very sorry, but it's difficult to get my head around the idea of having armed police at a Christmas market, because, as I say, it's supposed to be about joy and family and happiness, and it doesn't seem like that really accords with British values. But I don't think it would make me feel particularly safe. I'm going to a Christmas market with my daughter today, and I think we have to just carry on as normal. Otherwise, we let terrorists win.
Yeah, and of course, in Germany, they have actually brought in precautions. I believe hard concrete barriers to stop this happening. But unfortunately, the suspect managed to get through a gap in the barriers by all accounts. So even the measures that have been put in place have been evaded. But just on the topic of immigration in Germany, because obviously it's such a big issue, not only in Germany, but across Europe. Of course, one of the things that has happened in Germany particularly is they've taken an enormous amount of refugees and asylum seekers. And by very definition, you don't have paperwork or history of these people in terms of why they're fleeing their home country. Do you think there'll be any more attempts now by the German security services to try and identify maybe more people who've come over as asylum seekers or refugees, and whether or not they may have criminal pasts?
I think we have to. I mean, I think we're seeing this across Europe and here in the UK as well. Increasing concern about migration and increasing concern about the level of scrutiny over who we're allowing in, especially people who are coming in by irregular routes across the Channel in small boats. So, yes, I mean, one can only assume that this will, again, put a spotlight on this issue. And the saddest thing about it is that, especially at Christmas time, the idea of giving refuge and safety to people fleeing from conflicts is of course, on all our minds. And it undermines that very principle of having a generous, open and welcoming culture for people who are fleeing wars.
Alice, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Merry Christmas to you, and we'll catch up soon. Yeah, that's festive, isn't it? Barriers blocking entrances to Christmas markets, and Armed police holding MP5s whilst you're getting your mulled wine and...
It is quite extraordinary to think of the changes that we've seen just since I was a child because of these terrorist threats. I mean, look at Westminster Bridge, loads of places around London, and even kind of smaller cities in the UK, lots of concrete barriers all over the place to stop these kind of attacks. I mean, we have to take precautions, but it's just really sad.
Do you know what? It puts an even bigger light on the small boats crisis as well. We don't know who these people are, where they're from, what their intentions are. Maybe there are some genuine refugees in there, but I know for a fact a good proportion of them aren't.
Well,
if they throw their mobiles into the water, their passports into the water, who knows what's going on?
And there's a big difference between families coming over to work and to settle and individual, often young men, fleeing countries for reasons that we don't know, which may be genuine or it may be they're being pursued by authorities at home, in which case, why should we grant them asylum here? It's very, very...
Indeed.
Situation.
Indeed. All right, we'll keep an eye on this story throughout the next 2 hours. Just a very quick shout-out to one of our loyal viewers and members, Grumpy Grandad.
Oh, Grumpy Grandad. He comments on every show.
He watches the channel, I think, pretty much every day, and he felt a bit poorly the other night during a show I was covering, and we wished him well, but he said he's back. He said, thank you, Ben, for wishing me well the other night. Much appreciated. Grumpy Grandad, good to see you back. And also a very quick shout-out to Kevin, the black cab driver in London, who, by coincidence, has picked me up twice now on 2 separate occasions. He loves the channel. He's a big fan of the work we do. So big hello and Merry Christmas to you, Kevin. Thank you for your support, everybody else. Right, to look through the top stories of the day, we're joined by the political correspondent at The Spectator, James Hill, and journalist and broadcaster Candice Holdsworth. Good morning, you two.
Good morning.
Should we talk about Lord Mandelson?
Yes. What are your thoughts, James?
So this was the announcement yesterday that Lord Mandelson will be the next UK ambassador to the US, and it hasn't gone down too well with everyone in Trump world. It's fair to say. So Chris Lasavita, who was Donald Trump's campaign manager this time around, has taken to Twitter X and called Lord Mandelson an absolute moron and said he should stay home because of his comments previously suggesting that Donald Trump would be a danger to the Western world. So it seems another sort of appointment where a bit of baggage has come back to haunt the appointment.
Candice, a lot of people have baggage when it comes to Trump, not least the current Vice President, J.D. Vance, who I think compared Trump to Hitler previously.
I know.
Why do you think Trump might not be minded to forgive Mandelson in a way that he has been minded to forgive others?
Well, another journalist said to me, and I think this is probably true, if you kiss the ring, so to speak, you sort of, you bow and you scrape a little bit, Trump will forgive you. You have to just acknowledge what you did. But what I think is so interesting is how much the mood has changed in 8 years. Because I saw Mandelson in an interview strike a much more moderate tone.
Sorry to interject. We've just got some live pictures now, going back to that German story. Chancellor Olaf Scholz, he's arrived to tour the site of the Christmas market attack. These are live pictures now. Let's see if we can spot him. This is the Christmas market that was targeted last night. Let's see if we can spot the Chancellor somewhere. Elon Musk, Miriam, called for him to resign last night over the attack.
Well, I think he hasn't got long left in office. He's lost a vote of no confidence and there are due to be elections in January, so I don't think he has long left. It's just so difficult to believe it's such a beautiful, festive place where you can see where all... Well, you can... We're now looking at the sky, but you could see where all the stalls were. You can just imagine people last night enjoying mulled wine, shopping for gifts.
I think the cameraman's had a bit of mulled wine as well.
Yeah, it looks like not quite the pictures we were expecting to see.
No, well, if we do get sight of the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, we'll go back to him. But Candy, sorry to interject. You just
no,
Lord
it's
Mandelson.
Fine.
Actually,
yes.
Should we just remind the viewers of what Lord Mandelson said about Trump? We have that clip. Have we got that clip ready? Let's see if we can take a listen. No, we haven't got it. Anyway, he was talking. We'll play it in just a tick. He was calling him a bully and said that he was a danger to the world and he was a little short of a white nationalist.
Oh, wow. And now I have heard Mandelson say that all of that is hyperbole. So he's changed his tune, as so many have. I mean, it used to be just like completely commonplace. There was no social cost to saying anything about Trump. But Trump's in a very different position now. I mean, look at the people he surrounded himself with, all very mainstream figures. Whereas 8 years ago, you took a big risk aligning yourself with the Trump campaign. Not anymore.
Well, the great irony, of course, is that Mandelson was discussing the 2019 sacking of the British ambassador to the US, which was Kim Darroch, after comments of his were leaked in diplomatic transcripts and he had to resign. That led to the current ambassador, Karen Pierce, who Trump world seems to think has done a very good job. And so there's an irony that a second UK ambassador, or potential UK ambassador, could be brought down by the indiscretions about Donald Trump.
We have that clip now. Let's take a very quick listen to remind ourselves.
With an American president who is little short of a white nationalist and racist. Even those who have a sneaking admiration for Donald Trump because of the strength of his personality nonetheless regard him as reckless and a danger to the world.
Now, James, this decision to appoint Mandelson may backfire. Indeed, perhaps it already is backfiring. But you can see the logic from Sir Keir Starmer here. This is somebody who is well known on the international stage and experienced, and also has experience in trade negotiations. And that is going to be one of the key things that Britain has to do over the next few years.
Absolutely. I mean, the two things I think which really sealed it, or three things I should say. Number one, he's a great networker. I think Peter Mandelson has a track record of being able to ingratiate himself with all sorts of people. Number two, of course, those 4 years in Brussels when trade, and I think that's a recognition of how much Labour is really going for that trade deal over the US in the future, and also I think the importance of tariffs to the Trump regime. And number three, of course, it also shows again the influence of Number 10's Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney. Morgan McSweeney, Peter Mandelson, very close, and I think that this shows Morgan McSweeney's fingerprints are all over key appointments in the Starmer regime.
Candice, aside from Mandelson's comments of yesteryear, in recent weeks we've had the narrative and the conversation about whether the UK needs to side with the US. I think Donald Trump's economic advisor, was it Stephen somebody, said that we should ditch the socialist EU and side with the US in a new dawn for the West. And Sir Keir Starmer has said, well, no, we can be friends with both the EU and the United States. But does this appointment of, massive, let's be frank, massive Remainer Lord Mandelson, does it send a message to Donald Trump that maybe the UK is siding more with the EU?
Yeah, it's very interesting which way Keir Starmer will go on that, because I think Britain sort of has both of those strands in its politics. The sort of free market capitalism, it's a part of the Anglophone community of nations. But Keir Starmer and his milieu very much like to be part of the European project. And that is still, I think, to Keir Starmer is still a very valuable thing. And he's not, done it in a radical way, but he's sort of doing it in a gradual way. Some people have said it kind of looks like Keir Starmer is going against Donald Trump in certain ways. And he's not quite aligned with the US. It's a difficult thing to do, though. The UK cannot follow the US in everything. It will always be the junior partner. And trying to position yourself is such a tricky thing, I think, for any British Prime Minister.
Now, should we move on to a different story? James, there's a story in the Daily Mirror about the return of the family doctor, and Wes Streeting, the health secretary, wants to go back to the days where you always saw the same doctor when you went to your practice. Do you think this is desirable or even possible?
Well, I mean, reading it, a lot of it would seem sort of common sense, I think, to lots of people in terms of having one GP which you can deal with, slashing the number of targets facing GPs by about, I think, a third, and also putting extra investment in, which I think lots of GPs will welcome. The danger is, of course, is that this £900 million announcement is going to be overshadowed by, once again, talk of industrial action from the British Medical Association and the GPs. So it's the age-old question of whether this additional funding that goes in is actually going to lead to the improvements that people want to see, or is it simply going to be gobbled up in terms of backdated pay increases and inflation rises?
Candice, your thoughts? I remember back when I was a child, I had, was it whooping cough or something, or croup, something like that. The doctor came out at 2 in the morning. Dr. Daz, hello if you're watching. And that was part of the course. You had a doctor to come to your house. These days, you can't even see a doctor, even if you visit them at the GP for 8-9 weeks.
It's changed so much. You're so right. I remember my dad used to get incredibly painful migraines, and the doctor would come and give him a pain injection at home. I mean, you would never get that now. I will say, though, my local GP is amazing. We see the same one. You have an assigned GP. He gets to know you. He gets to know your family. You develop a relationship with them. And I think that's very important for health as well, especially people who maybe need a bit of time to open up about health issues. If they've got that sort of close relationship with their GP, it's much easier to give them care.
One would also hope that having an individual would mean that you have issues around data solved, because often there's an issue where conflicting notes, you have to explain the same procedure multiple times, and often that gets lost in the NHS system, and therefore sort of long-term health effects don't get picked up soon.
Yeah, and also if you've got a complex medical history, it takes the doctor quite some time to read through all your notes before then seeing you, so it would make it more efficient. I mean, obviously, we also have the issue that we are an ageing society, and we just have many more older people with more complex conditions, and there are fewer GPs to go around, really, aren't there? So I think I love the idea of this policy, but I don't know how deliverable it is. We shall see.
Do you rate Wes Streeting, Miriam?
I actually think he's one of the absolute best Labour cabinet ministers. I do. Whether he can reform the NHS, I don't know. But I think, unlike many of the cabinet ministers, he is willing to see both sides of the story, and I think that's a very good virtue in a politician.
I said something similar on X/Twitter. I got a bit of stick for it, but I think he's the most capable Labour cabinet member there. Some people saying, James, it's not a high bar, but
damned by faint praise, perhaps.
Yes, GB News praises Wes Streeting. He's not going to like that.
I've already damned his career by that.
Yes,
but
that's right.
He's a very good host of the Spectator Parliamentarian Awards. Very funny.
Oh, good, good.
We've probably damned him from becoming Prime Minister now.
Good stuff. All right, James, Candice, thank you for your contributions. We'll be back in the next hour or so.
Well, up next, we've got some research that shows we are a nation of people who feel guilty for putting ourselves first. TV personality and Geordie Shore star Charlotte Crosby will be here to talk about that and much more after the break. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
As Strictly Come Dancing approaches its iconic Blackpool episode, marking halfway through the competition, visually impaired dancers across the country have spoken out about how groundbreaking the casting of Chris McCausland is, who suffers from, if I hope I'm saying this correctly, retinitis pigmentosa, and they've found him particularly inspiring. We've been talking, Sean, about how the casting of Strictly has been inspiring to so many people, but I imagine there'll be lots of people who are watching this at home finding your story of resilience really inspiring, because you've obviously really been through it. Is dancing something that has sort of, you know, helped keep you going through all of those troubles? And what does it mean to you to see casting like this on a show like Strictly Come Dancing?
Like I say, all the things I went through. So those 9 years when I wasn't dancing, you know, I was still dancing in my head and just banging on to other people. Very much not just people with sight loss. You know, I've been a big advocate for people with social isolation. So many people on their own now, social anxiety, especially since COVID. And I just want people to get out. The stuff that I'm doing and all the stuff Chris is obviously doing, it will inspire others. Again, like I say, just not people just with sight loss. I had so many people come up to me in the early days, guys, and now that say, you know what, Shawnee, I've seen you do it, so I'm just going to do it. But you just got to get over yourself, because if you bother to do the maths, you know, because all it is maths and walking. Yeah. You know, that's all it is.
Maths and walking actually sounds quite difficult.
Sean, thank you.
Oh, come on, mate. Can you shout? Can you walk? Crack on.
Sean, you're an inspiration. Thank you, mate, for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. You're a star, and so glad.
Just before I go, I'm just going to say this is Kev. Here's Kev.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, welcome back. Ben and Miriam with you on Saturday Morning Live. Now, as we've just been discussing, Downing Street yesterday confirmed Lord Mandelson, arch-Remainer Peter Mandelson, is set to become the UK's next ambassador to the US.
Now, the Labour peer who served under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown will take up the role as Donald Trump returns to the White House.
But Sir Keir Starmer said that Lord Mandelson would bring unrivalled experience to the role and take the UK's partnership with one of its most important allies from strength to strength.
Now, with us now, live from New York, is journalist and author Nelson Aspen. Nelson, this choice does not seem to have gone down very well amongst the Trump camp.
What
were they thinking? It is a curious choice, but I tell you, in 6 months, your Lord friend there is going to be wearing a red cap and dancing to YMCA. If he wants to have the job, one of your previous commenters mentioned, said the phrase kissing the ring. And that is what has been happening. President Trump, he will be our president for the next 4 years. He's a de facto president right now, as a matter of fact, while Joe Biden is somewhere in the ether. He's going to have to play games, and that's evidenced already by his backtracking.
Nelson, good morning. Hope you're well. Merry Christmas to you. Trump's campaign manager, Chris, how do you pronounce the surname? La Civita, said that, no, I was about to say Nelson was a moron. Not you, Nelson. Mandelson was a moron.
Well, that remains to be seen. Let's see how he handles it. Obviously, we are important allies, and he would be wise to figure out a way to make it work, because Trump's going to be there for the next 4 years. And the irony is that Donald Trump is one of the great Anglophiles. His mother was Scottish. He loved Queen Elizabeth. He has a wonderful affection for the United Kingdom. So he wants to make it work. So the burden is on Lord Mendelsohn.
Now, of course, it is the UK Prime Minister's decision who becomes the UK ambassador. But do you think if there was sufficient pressure from the Trump camp, sufficient disgust shown for this choice, do you think there could be a U-turn? Do you think Keir Starmer could change his mind?
Absolutely. Why not? I mean, we've seen lots of changes, lots of U-turns, as you say. Just shortly after midnight last night here, a few hours ago, they passed the bill to prevent a government shutdown, which was looming. The power of the president-elect is very real at the moment. So anything could happen, and it would be smart. Let's please just get 2025 underway with peace and harmony.
Nelson, can you just brief us about the government shutdown? What happened?
Well, typical bipartisan snafu. They had to figure out a way to do it. And it was Democrats versus Republicans. They pared it down. And quite interestingly, the threat of a government shutdown was less terrifying than it would ordinarily have been. The government employees would not be getting paychecks. National parks would shut down, that kind of thing. But the Republicans were kind of like, okay, if we have to shut down, we have to shut down. And they worked it out. I mean, that's the bottom line. And Speaker Mike Johnson's position was on the line as a result of it. But the important thing is they worked it out before everybody took off for the holidays. It was a real nail biter.
Now, Nelson, everyone seems to have forgotten about Joe Biden, but he is, of course, president for just a few more weeks. But I'm quite interested in this story that's come out. The Wall Street Journal, I think, has done a report about how the officials around Biden covered up his senility for a number of years. Has that story made much of a splash in America?
It's really all anybody's talking about. And, you say people have forgotten about Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden has forgotten about Joe Biden. Where is he? And this Wall Street Journal article was kind of a bombshell, and dozens of well-sourced interviews contributed to it, saying that his very obviously diminished physical and cognitive abilities are nothing new. In fact, they've been present since the beginning of his presidency, according to this article, and that it has been a massive 4-year cover-up. And the question remains, who is in charge? Who has been leading the country? 4 years ago, it was easy to put him in the basement and say, oh, well, COVID, we've got to keep everybody 6 feet apart and, he'll come out. But some of the revelations include the fact that his conversations, even with his own administration, were scripted for him, and that Jill Biden, his wife, was filling in for him in important meetings. So it's rather terrifying, and we just have to hold on there for another month. And last night there was a rumor, just a rumor, going around that Kamala Harris was racing back to the White House and something imminent was going to happen. But it is worrisome. We don't have confidence in our leadership.
No. OK, Nelson, tell us, please, about Jeff Bezos, the Amazon kingpin, maybe the second or third richest man in the world. He's been at Trump's Florida bolt hole Mar-a-Lago. What's he up to?
Well, if Lord Mendelsohn can come around, he has to look no farther than Jeff Bezos. You know, if Jeff Bezos can come around, these tech giants like Zuckerberg, like Bezos, they are not only meeting with Donald Trump, they're contributing to his inaugural campaign in the form of $1 million. Here's $1 million towards your inauguration. And that's, you know, he's a businessman. That's good business. As I said previously, Donald Trump is going to be there for 4 years. Whether you like him or not, that's the fact. And so you're going to have to find a way to get along if you want to survive, and Amazon wants to survive.
Are Americans suspicious at all of the motives of the tech giants? Of course, they've got an enormous role to play in American life, but also America around the world. But certainly in the UK, we would ask questions about conflicts of interest in these kind of situations. How can Trump effectively regulate what is an enormous, powerful industry now if he's on such chummy terms with the bosses?
Well, I mean, you have to look no farther than Elon Musk if you're going to talk about that. I mean, Elon Musk is arguably the most powerful non-elected official maybe in the world at the moment. But yeah, it is good business to do that. TikTok is a great example. TikTok was sort of doomed here in America for a while, but Donald Trump's affection for the platform may end up saving it. It may end up being sold so that it's not a Chinese entity, just so that it can remain here. We've all got to figure out a way to get along for the next 4 years.
Great stuff. Nelson, thanks very much. What's your plans for Christmas?
Oh, I'm going to be right here until New Year's Day, and then I'm setting sail. I'm going to go take to the high seas for a little bit of a holiday. But I will be here. We've got snow. It's snowing outside, and we're hoping for a white Christmas.
Home Alone style. Good to see. Snow in New York. Nelson, thank you, my friends. Happy Christmas and a
Merry Christmas.
Fantastic New Year too. Thank you for all your work this year.
On Britain's newsroom the other day, we had a betting specialist come in to talk about the odds for various different things. And one of them was the odds on a white Christmas. And guess where the best odds for a white Christmas are this year?
New York?
Edinburgh Airport. No, is it in the UK?
Oh, in the UK.
Edinburgh Airport.
Edinburgh Airport?
Yeah. I don't think I'll be going there just for snow.
I don't think, you know, when it's like the hottest day of the year or all these temperature records and so on, it's always at Heathrow or something. Why do it's because the tarmac heats up, isn't it?
It must be for the hottest, but I don't know about the coldest.
Why the snow then?
Don't know. I don't know. Anyway, that's where if you want to bet on a white Christmas, Edinburgh Airport, apparently.
I think airports should be excluded from any weather events whatsoever.
Yes, they're kind of freak
something fishy going on there. Anyway, lots more to come. Don't go anywhere, including you can't wait for this. You're
Christmas wrapping contest.
Why are you so competitive?
Is the sellotape already going to be cut up? That's what I want to know. Very important.
I'm not sure we're that organised, Miriam. We've got a Christmas wrapping contest coming up in just a tick. This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last weekend before Christmas and it is going to be fairly unsettled with rain and showers. Very strong winds at times, particularly across the far northwest where there is a yellow weather warning for wind in force. Across central and southern areas, quite cloudy as rain clears its way to the southeast. It is going to be clearer to the north of this, though plenty of blustery showers sweeping their way eastwards across the country. We could even see some hail and thunder mixed into these across northern areas and some snow mainly across hilly areas in Scotland. And those strong blustery northwesterly winds are really going to add on to the wind chill in the north, so feeling particularly chilly here, but largely mild in the south. Then to end the day on Saturday, still plenty of those blustery winds moving across coastal areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of showers too, these still falling as snow across hills in Scotland, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of those blustery showers and those strong winds, particularly around coastal areas, but even inland, winds could still be fairly strong. A few showers around Wales and some outbreaks of rain just clearing the far south. So across the southeast, it should be largely dry to end the day on Saturday, but overnight we're going to see more and more of those showers move through across the country, still falling as snow across high ground in Scotland, perhaps also seeing some flurries of snow at times across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and still very strong winds, that wind warning then extending across parts of Wales and the southwest by the time we reach Sunday morning. So a very blustery start to Sunday and feeling very chilly indeed in that brisk wind. Then through into Sunday, once again, another very unsettled day. It's going to be very windy across much of the country, particularly around western coast. Still plenty of these showers feeding through, merging into longer spells of rain at times across Scotland. Could also be heavy at times and still seeing that snow mainly across higher ground and feeling particularly cold in those brisk winds. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live with Miriam and Ben. And during Advent, as we count down to Christmas Day, we're hearing from church ministers across the country. Each day they have a special hope-filled message for you to celebrate the festive season.
The GB News Advent Calendar, Day 21.
Hi, I'm Richard England, Vicar of Crofton Parish. It's just about the shortest day of the year. From here, imperceptibly, the days will start to get longer. There's quite a lot of winter left, but eventually the light will start to push out the dark. The Christmas story, like the turning of the seasons, reminds us that we are never hopeless. The first Christmas occurred in a world full of darkness, full of violence and oppression, a world longing for a brighter day. The star shining in the night pointed to a source of hope in our lives beyond our circumstances. If the Christmas story is true, then we're not alone in life. Whatever long nights of grief or sorrow we go through, there is another with us, for us, whose light and love can lead us through the darkest moments of our lives. Things may seem dark in your life, in our world. The nights may feel endless, but morning always comes. Light always returns.
Loved his Christmas jumper.
That's great. The reindeers, love it.
Very nice. I need to buy one this year. Have you got one?
I have got one, but it's too hot. It's wool, and I'm just thinking if I wear it in the studio on Boxing Day when I'm on, I might overheat, but we'll see.
It can get quite hot in here, indeed. Yeah. You can see all of our special Advent messages at Christmas by visiting gbnews.com/Advent, and Merry Christmas to you.
Well, we've got lots of views. Lots of you have been writing in about the various topics we've been discussing, and a really interesting comment about GPs. So we've been talking about Wes Streeting's plan to bring back the family doctor. Well, Kevin says, a few years ago, I wondered why my surgery found it difficult to find new GPs. I worked out from the official statistics that 45% of GPs were men, 55% of women. Of the men, 95% worked full-time, and of the women, only about 25% worked full-time. I do think this is a really important point, because more than half of medical students are women now, and women are much more likely to take time off and work part-time following having children, which of course is a great thing to be able to do, but it means that the number of students they expect to become full-time doctors is actually less and less.
Interesting debate. Somebody else has talked about the German Christmas market. The chap alleged to have carried out the attack was a psychiatrist, apparently. He was a doctor. And somebody said it's frightening that this terrorist doctor was actually permitted to work in a hospital. How much damage could he have done there with patients at his mercy? And yeah, he was meant to be a psychotherapist. I mean...
Well, and there are allegations he had a criminal record in his home country. So how he was allowed to practice his... Well, I'm sure we'll find out over coming days.
Gero, talking about Lord Peter Mandelson, the new ambassador to the US. You've said Donald Trump's advisors are not stupid. Mandelson's track record is in the public domain. As a Trojan horse, Trump will not fall for it. Mandelson has not yet been accepted by the US as an ambassador.
It's actually called him Meddlesome.
Meddlesome.
Which is quite a good pun.
Very good.
I mean, Keir Starmer's been very stubborn so far in not U-turning despite protests about things like the winter fuel allowance, but I wonder if this could be the first U-turn.
Did you see at the Select Committee on, was it Friday, Sir Keir Starmer was asked, any regrets, anything you changed in your first 5 months? And he said, No,
that's
absolutely
astounding.
not.
I mean, even if it had all gone well, you'd think there'd be some things that you'd change and do differently. And it's a difficult job.
Surely you'd say, I don't know, be a bit humble about it and say, it's been tough. We've had to make some tough decisions, and we're going to reflect on what's happened in the first 5 months. But he was so buoyant and confident in his declaration that he said no. Absolutely
but also
not.
he can be quite wooden sometimes, and some of the questions he's asked, like what's your favourite novel and what's your favourite film, he said I don't have one. And it's quite maybe he's just reluctant to show the kind of personal side, which I can understand.
Well, Boris Johnson did, of course,
He showed much of his personal side.
Nickname Keir Starmer the human bollard, infamously. So
I've forgotten that.
Make of that what you will.
How cruel. Anyway, if you're in search of some winter sun, here is the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Dino so clears, but it remains often cloudy and sometimes windy around coastal areas, particularly for the Canary Islands and Madeira. A fairly strong northwesterly flow dragging in some cloud and some outbreaks of rain at times. Fairly settled across Portugal and Spain, but as we move further east, cloudy with some showers at times, particularly for Rome and at times parts of Greece. But it generally looks like it's improving by the time we reach the middle of the week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Santorini, Rome, Dubrovnik. I'd rather Bognor Regis, I think, or Skeggy. Skeggy for Christmas.
I like being in England for Christmas, but I wouldn't mind some sun.
Yeah, I would like some snow, though.
I know. When we used to live in Sheffield, we did often get snow.
Nice. Right, anyway, up next, gift wrapping expert Jane Means will join us to share her tips and tricks for perfectly packaging your Christmas presents. And Miriam and I are going to go head-to-head in a wrapping contest. Back in just a tick.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Following the summer riots and the resurgence of far-right ideologies, the former Education Secretary told peers that reinforcing shared values is now more crucial than ever.
So we're asking this morning, should we teach British values or would it be a step backward?
Or how do you even start? To debate this now, we're joined by the Campaign for Real Education Chairman, Chris McGovern, and political commentator Matthew Stadland.
Well, I think these days, particularly in schools, it's quite fashionable to look at the negative sides of Britain's identity, particularly British history. Personally, I think I'm very proud of being British, and I think we need to be proud of our country like most other countries around the world are.
As Chris says, Matthew, lots of other countries do it. Heck, you only have to look at the United States, don't you, to see how sort of patriotic they are. Is there anything wrong in trying to instil a bit of that amongst our youth?
I'm just worried it sounds a little bit communist, Stephen, being told what it is to be British. I've got my own personal but very vague views of what British values might be: inclusivity, patience, being able to queue, decency, respect for democracy and the rule of law. But I mean, very many people will have different sets of values. Some people are racist. So are British values racist? You talked about the far right. I think we all know what the far right is. It's sort of violent, xenophobic racism. But if you have, say, I don't know, 3-4 million people in this country who might describe themselves as racist or far right, and they're British, or as British as you lot and as I am, does that mean those values get taught in schools? My worry is it's a little bit communist.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here
We do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Now, you might be super prepared and have all of your gifts wrapped for Christmas, or, like me, it might be on your to-do list this weekend.
Yeah, and like me too. Either way, how we wrap our gifts is a talking point with some of us stretching to bows and ribbons and others taking a more simple approach.
Well, joining us now to share her expert tips and to put Ben and me to the test is gift wrapping extraordinaire Jane Means.
Morning, Jane.
Morning.
How are you? Merry Christmas.
Very busy, as you can imagine.
You've got lots of prezzies here.
I have. The elves have been busy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So,
this is beautifully wrapped. I would very much like to know how to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge. A tube where you pleat it both sides. You can obviously do a tube and cut lots of little bits and pull them in. So, but yeah, I've got some great tips because I know everybody's frantically trying to wrap.
I cannot wrap for anything.
Toffee.
No, for toffee.
Do you use a plastic bag normally, Ben?
Great. Brilliant idea is this. I'm just going to use a sheet of paper. So if you've got things like a jumper or maybe a toiletries bag like that.
Would you like to go first, Miriam? You pick. I guess we pick something to wrap, shall we?
That looks really difficult.
That's going to be slightly different.
For those listening on the radio, we've got a bottle, but it's not an even shape.
It's not. So, but yeah, I was going to show you this great tip. Probably wouldn't put a bottle in because I'm worried about it falling out. But yeah, I've got a sheet of paper, double-sided tape. I think is an absolute must for this. And all I basically do is I'm going to use the whole sheet just to save a bit of time, is go straight down the edge with my tape and peel it away. Just pop that down like that.
Just down the edge?
Just down the edge like that. Peel it away like so. I'm just going to pop that on the floor.
Yeah.
That's the usual thing, isn't it? Throw it on the floor. And then I'm just basically going to just sort of overlap the paper, trying to get it stuck quite straight. So you've got effectively
made a tube.
And you know, it always happens on live TV. I've stuck it to the paper, but yeah, a little tube sort of like.
So you do this before any present is on the paper? You make the empty tube?
Yeah, basically. And then all I do is try and get that seam in the middle. Do this clever little fold. If I just lift it up and show you,
I think I'm lost already, Miriam.
Can you sort of see that? And then it's a really clever little tip where you basically just sort of fold it in like this. Again, if I just lift it up, so hopefully you can see it.
Yeah.
Clever little fold at the bottom. So if I just fold this over like so. Again, double-sided tape, absolute must. I'm just going to get some tape there.
So where did you learn to wrap like this?
I actually picked up loads of ideas on my travels. You go to places like New York and Japan and Europe even, and you see all these things, and even Spanish waiters pleating the napkins for a dinner table. And I thought, you know, we could do that with paper. And, you know, little things like that, it all helps.
It's an art, isn't it, do you think?
I think when you get a beautifully wrapped present, it does make a difference, doesn't it?
It certainly does. So you've made a bag? Made a bag. Do a couple of little bits at the side there, and then your jumper or whatever you are wrapping, you literally just place it in. So I'll probably pop that in actually. Yeah, that's it. Just pop that in there like that. Drop it in, and then fold the top over a couple of times, and then you can sort of add ribbon. But I mean, I try and be as sustainable as possible. You know, we have to be kind to the planet. And something like that, you can sort of recycle again and again. And just go around with your ribbon. You've also got other alternatives like, you know, fabric wraps like that. So the bottle.
Should we have a...
Do you want to have a little go?
Yes, yeah.
So...
a couple of minutes.
Is this going to be time or quality?
So,
Ben, I think?
right, that's quite a big one there. So, and I think I've got a small one
So I'm wrapping in this?
So, yeah.
But without...
what it is...
use sticky tape?
So, no, it's a great technique, this. So, OK, right. What I'm going to do, let me just grab a bit of ribbon ready.
A minute to go.
OK. All you're going to do is literally grab it round the bottle like that. Just start pulling it round. Do you want to have a go too?
Go on then.
Okay.
Yes,
right, let's give you a little
grab
go
it
then.
round the bottle.
That's it.
And what? And wrap it round.
That's it. What I do is just pull it up like that. That's it. Loads of tips on Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube if you need it, folks. So yeah, and I just pull it upwards. That's it. You've got it.
I don't think it's going to work.
Miriam, you cheated.
Well, I haven't, but
I don't know. It looks so good. It looks like you cheated.
My cloth isn't quite big enough for the bottle, but I'm doing my best.
Love that.
Are you joking?
That's a work of art.
I'm not sure.
Did you actually do that yourself?
Well, I pulled the cloth around and tied a piece of string. I mean, I'm not sure it's that effective, but
there's another alternative.
But using quality wrapping paper is a good.
Yeah,
if you buy really thin stuff, it's very difficult to do things like that because you just get holes in it, and the present punctures the paper, doesn't it?
Brown paper.
Yes.
Excellent. Really like brown paper because it's durable and you can add all sorts of bits to it, like I've added foliage there. So that's a work of art.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think
you should go back to plastic bags.
I think there's a reason I leave my wife to do it.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's literally just a sort of a case of grabbing it up like that and just pull.
Well, Jane, thank you so much
You're
for being with
welcome.
us.
You're welcome. Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. You give me some tips off air and we'll be back in just a tick after your weather forecast.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last weekend before Christmas and it is going to be fairly unsettled with rain and showers. Very strong winds at times, particularly across the far northwest where there is a yellow weather warning for wind in force. Across central and southern areas, quite cloudy as rain clears its way to the southeast. It is going to be clearer to the north of this, though plenty of blustery showers sweeping their way eastwards across the country. We could even see some hail and thunder mixed into these across northern areas and some snow mainly across hilly areas in Scotland. And those strong blustery northwesterly winds are really going to add on to the wind chill in the north, so feeling particularly chilly here, but largely mild in the south. Then to end the day on Saturday, still plenty of those blustery winds moving across coastal areas of Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of showers too, these still falling as snow across hills in Scotland, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England. Still plenty of those blustery showers and those strong winds, particularly around coastal areas, but even inland, winds could still be fairly strong. A few showers around Wales and some outbreaks of rain just clearing the far south. So across the southeast, it should be largely dry to end the day on Saturday, but overnight we're going to see more and more of those showers move through across the country, still falling as snow across high ground in Scotland, perhaps also seeing some flurries of snow at times across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, and still very strong winds, that wind warning then extending across parts of Wales and the southwest by the time we reach Sunday morning. So a very blustery start to Sunday and feeling very chilly indeed in that brisk wind. Then through into Sunday, once again, another very unsettled day. It's going to be very windy across much of the country, particularly around western coast. Still plenty of these showers feeding through, merging into longer spells of rain at times across Scotland. Could also be heavy at times and still seeing that snow mainly across higher ground and feeling particularly cold in those brisk winds. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting a call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Lee Anderson's Real World. Fridays from 7 p.m.
Last orders at the bar, and I'm joined by Geordie Shore star Ricky Guanaccio. Have I said that right? Is that Italian?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Italian, your parents Italian?
Is it? Pronunciation was pretty much perfect.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, look, mate, Geordie Shore, I've never watched it, mate, so I do apologise about that. But I know these reality TV shows are making big stars out of the people, making you famous, making you loads of money. Is it worth it?
For me personally, yeah. It's been a hell of a career. Been a hell of a lot of fun doing it. Ups and downs, but first and foremost, money-wise, yeah.
That's good. So people stopping in the street, you being famous, wanting the autograph and all. How do you cope with that, Ricky?
Well, when we first started doing the show, I mean, we got our show off the back of Jersey Shore in America. We never expected the fame that we got, and you know, being one of the biggest reality TV shows in the UK and now the world. You know, it's in 150 odd countries worldwide. Wow. It's pretty crazy. It's when you're living in houses. I mean, for example, Geordie Shore and Love Island's probably the same as well. When you're living in villas and you're living in houses, the arguing side sort of plays on your mind. You've got to deal with all that. You know, it's a hard place to be. It's a pressure cooker.
You're living in one of these villas, Ricky, or one of these houses. Do you ever wake up one morning and think, "What am I doing here?"
When I first started, yes. Yeah. Now, I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't mind all the, you know, there's no emotion connecting me now with filming. It's kind of like I go in there, it's fun, or it's, you know, it's dramatic, whatever it may be.
Have you ever worked behind a bar?
No.
No?
Yeah, for not a long period of time. My mum and dad had a...
Well, I can
definitely messed this one up.
Yeah, I can actually believe that you've never worked behind a bar.
Yeah, so my parents sacked us when I worked in the restaurant.
Well, obviously, I mean, you wouldn't get a job here with a pint like that, would you?
Do you want it?
No, mate, no.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Very good morning to you. Merry Christmas. I'm Ben Leo alongside Miriam Cates, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Well, it's great to have your company this morning, and we've got an action-packed hour ahead of us. But to start with, we've got our headlines. So today is set to be the busiest shopping day of the year as shoppers take to the high streets for last-minute Christmas bargains. And Jack Carson is out and about chatting with last-minute shoppers.
And if you're at a loose end, now the school holidays have started, why not try some Christmas crafting? Children's author Josie Don will join us to share how she's managed to upcycle her decorations by crafting them out of cardboard.
And we're going to be joined by celebrity chef Jameson Stocks later this hour. He's just opened his new restaurant, and he'll be here to tell us all about the important tricks and tips to a great Christmas lunch.
And to round off the show and get into the festive spirit, of course, we'll be decorating some delicious gingerbread cookies with Sophia Butler. And we have all of the day's top stories with political correspondent at The Spectator, James Hill, and the journalist and broadcaster, Candice Holdsworth.
I quite enjoyed the little rapping competition we had there, Ben.
I think you beat me. I think you comfortably beat me, but we'll see how we get on.
I think it was a little unfair because the fabric pieces weren't quite the right size. But anyway, I learned a few tips.
You did very well. Anyway, welcome to you guys at home. This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. Good morning, thank you for your company. We'll be setting our sights on the tragic news in Germany in just a tick. We'll be getting an update from our very own Mark White. But first, here's your news headlines with Sam Francis.
Ben, Miriam, thank you very much indeed. It's just coming up to 2 minutes past 11. Let's start then with an update on that situation in Germany, where we now know at least 4 people have been killed, including a young child, and more than 200 left injured after a driver rammed an SUV into a crowded Christmas market in the east of the country. The suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi doctor, has been arrested, though officials say he's not known as an Islamic extremist. Sir Keir Starmer has called the attack horrific and expressed solidarity with Germany, while the Foreign Secretary David Lammy has offered support to his counterpart. Well, the tragedy comes just 8 years after a similar attack in Berlin, where 13 people were killed. Earlier, our Home and Security editor Mark White joined us on the programme. He's been looking into the lone attacker believed to be behind that incident.
He is a 50-year-old, originally from Saudi Arabia, who arrived in Germany in 2006 and claimed asylum, having fled Saudi Arabia, wanted by the Saudi authorities over allegations of rape and other criminal offences. However, the German authorities granted him refugee status in 2016 on human rights grounds.
In other news, time is running out for pensioners to claim pension credit and secure their winter fuel payment for 2024-25, with the deadline just hours away. Online applications close at 11:59 p.m. tonight, and phone lines will be open until 3:15 this afternoon for last-minute calls. Around 760,000 pensioners could miss out, with the benefit topping up weekly incomes and unlocking extra support. The change, announced by Chancellor Rachel Reeves, means that winter fuel payments now go only to those on means-tested benefits, slashing recipients from almost 11.5 million to now just 1.5 million pensioners. Scrap staff parking charges, that's the call from unions today, as new research has revealed 1 in 4 NHS trusts in England have raised their fees for patients, staff or both in the last 2 years. Patients' charities say the charges unfairly penalise unwell people, while NHS leaders argue that financial pressures leave trusts little choice but to charge. The rise, often targeting city centre hospitals, has seen higher earners pay more, while NHS staff collectively spent over £70 million on parking last year alone. Crowds across the Northern Hemisphere have been gathering from early on this morning to get a sight of the winter solstice, marking the shortest day and longest night of the year. In London, there's just under 8 hours of daylight, with sunrise earlier at 4 minutes past 8 this morning, sunset at 3:53 p.m. this afternoon, and even less for people further north. The solstice signals the return of longer days and is celebrated worldwide, with traditions and ancient customs being inspired. Events at Stonehenge are among the most iconic, drawing thousands to witness the so-called rebirth of the sun. And today, dubbed Super Saturday, is set to take the crown as the busiest shopping day of 2024, with footfall in the UK in stores expected to rise compared to last year. As last-minute shoppers swarm the aisles, the shift from online to in-store shopping is expected to peak, marking a key moment in the festive shopping season. Retailers are gearing up for a £2.5 billion spending spree, hoping to turn the holiday rush into a boost for the retail sector. But there is a twist. More shoppers are turning to discount brands, with 36% of Christmas spending expected to shift away from traditional retailers. Millennials are leading that charge, set to spend more than 40% of their festive budgets at discount stores like Aldi, B&M and Lidl. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sam, and welcome along to the second hour of Saturday Morning Live with me and Miriam Cates. Now, overnight we heard the news that 4 people have been killed and over 200 injured after a car was seen driving into crowds at the German Christmas market.
Now, the suspected attacker arrested at the scene is believed to be a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia.
Yes, and images and videos circulating online, too disturbing to air, show a car being driven at high speed right into the Christmas market and the vehicle appearing not to slow down.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has visited the market this morning and is speaking to the press later today.
Earlier, we spoke to GB News Home and Security Editor Mark White.
The attacker has been named in German media as Taleb A. Abdul Rossen, we believe, or Abdul Mohsen. In Germany, under German privacy laws, they never normally publish the full surname, but just the first letter. But we understand his full name is Abdul Mohsen. He is a 50-year-old, originally from Saudi Arabia, who arrived in Germany in 2006 and claimed asylum, having fled Saudi Arabia, wanted by the Saudi authorities over allegations of rape and other criminal offences. However, the German authorities granted him refugee status in 2016 on human rights grounds. And during that time that he has been in Germany, he has been working in a hospital just 26 miles from the scene of this attack at that Christmas market. And we're told that as far as German authorities is concerned, they are absolutely treating this as a deliberate ramming attack. The exact motivation, the twisted logic behind the decision of the suspect to get behind the wheel of that vehicle and plough at high speed into all of those people in this Christmas market, we don't know yet. We haven't yet got to the bottom of that. The authorities had warned that the death toll was likely to rise, and we're getting word this morning that from an initial death toll of 2, including a young child, it has risen to 4, with more than 80 others injured. And many of those injured have suffered some very serious injuries. One eyewitness told reporters at this Christmas market that it looked like a war zone after this car ploughed through the hundreds of people inside this market, with bodies strewn all over the place, being triaged by paramedics and taken off to major trauma centres in the area.
Oh, it's just horrific, isn't it? And our thoughts and prayers with everybody involved in that horrific incident. Yeah, goodness me, just leaves me speechless. We're going to be going back to Germany during the next hour, because I think the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is giving a press conference, so we'll go live to that when we can.
Now, today is set to be the busiest shopping day of the year in the UK and Ireland, according to analytics.
So last year, get this, Brits apparently spent nearly £5 billion between the 21st and the 24th of December, which shows the boost in last-minute gift buying. I think that includes the likes of... You haven't done your shopping yet, have you?
I've done most of the shopping, just nothing else.
OK. Have we got Olaf Scholz? Is he ready to go in Germany? We're going to go live to Germany now for Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor, who was giving a press conference. Let's have a quick listen if we can.
Die wir erlebt haben. Wir haben es gerade mit dem
Bundeskanzler,
Vertreterinnen und Vertretern.
If anyone speaks German at home, maybe keep a keen ear. I can't speak German. Miriam, you?
No, afraid not. A little bit of French, but no German. James, this is a very difficult moment for Scholz. He's now got a lame duck premiership, really. Yeah. Already deeply unpopular. How can he respond to this?
Well, I think his immediate response is the right one, to go there, to almost be there as part of the crowd and sort of feeling in the community the local sense of emotion at this obviously horrific tragedy. In terms of what comes next, obviously there'll be a rush for information. You've already seen politicians getting their side out and sort of trying to point fingers. I think it'll be a key to get information out in a timely fashion. And thereafter, it's going to be about sort of the realities of politics coming into all of this as well. We've got the February elections coming up, and I think there'll be questions asked about what the security service know. There's questions obviously about the actual incident in question in terms of how this car was able to get through against the bollards there. And I think the key thing will be about how do the ramifications come out in terms of what more could have been done to stop an event like this.
Candice, I just said then my thoughts and prayers are with everybody affected, and I meant it, but I was just thinking about it now. Aren't we sick of hearing that phrase? Thoughts and prayers, going back to, I don't know, back to the Madrid bombings in 2004, whenever it was. We've had Westminster, we've had London Bridge twice, we've had terrorist attacks all over Europe. Are we not just sick and tired of hearing thoughts and prayers? When is something going to be done about it?
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're capturing the moment right now. I think people are like, enough now. We need systemic change. I think the attempts have been to sort of contain these threats. So you provide the extra security at the Christmas market. But as we've seen, actually, that can break down so easily. And I think one of the most powerful books I read this year was Salman Rushdie's book, The Knife. And he wrote about that horrific attack upon him at that book festival. And he'd relaxed a little bit and he'd stopped thinking about having to have so much security, because the cost was his personal liberty and his freedom. And of course, someone took advantage of that. And you think, we shouldn't be that's not how people we shouldn't be living our lives like that, living under constant surveillance, always vigilant. We need to start thinking deeper about what's driving these things.
And, I mean, there are not that many similarities with the decades where Britain was under threat by the IRA, but certainly I grew up in those times where you were nervous in big public areas. There were no bins in train stations, for example, because that was known to be a place where bombs could be left. But at the time, British forces, British Army, British intelligence did everything they possibly could to reduce the threat of IRA terrorism. Doesn't feel like we're quite doing everything we possibly can, does it?
Yeah, I mean, and it also comes becomes an increasingly dangerous world. So, for instance, last week, the head of MI5 was talking about the need to kind of shift away from homegrown terror to looking at nation-states in terms of sort of China and Iran and what they're doing, sort of funding operations there. So it is just another example, I think, of a very fragmented society being pushed and pulled by different ways, both forces internal and external. And I think that is part of the reason why you're seeing parties, new parties challenging the establishment, because it is seen as a discredited establishment that hasn't been able to get a grip on this for the past 30 to 40 years, rightly or wrongly so. I suspect, as you say, Miriam, there's always going to be challenges of terror. The question is what forms those take, and are we doing enough to integrate people properly?
James, what do you make of Elon Musk's intervention last night? He said that German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who's on screen now, of course, giving this press conference at the site, he said it's time for him to step down. What do you make of Musk's intervention, not just in his own domestic politics in the US, but, of course, in the UK, now with Germany?
I think that it shows, obviously, the world's richest man, unsurprisingly, has enormous influence. I think that's partly by his purchase of Twitter, but also the resources at his disposal. Whether we're going to see any kind of formal agreement or kind of cooperation remains to be seen in terms of these different forces around the world. But I think it does show also how much Europe is very much now, the province compared to the centre of American power. America influences so much of what we do in terms of the donations are so different in terms of the social media clout, etc. I wait to see if there's anything more formal, but I think it's a reminder, I think, of the power of Elon Musk ahead of those German elections next year.
Candice, in terms of what can be done, I mean, parties like the AfD in Germany and others across Europe are calling for people to be deported if they don't have the right paperwork or if they've come over as asylum seekers. Do you think that is realistic? Do you think that could ever happen?
Well, I think it would have been impossible to say that 5 years ago. I keep saying that, but I just think we've seen such a jarring sort of mood shift in the things, the solutions that people are looking for. People talk very openly now about deportations, mass deportations, visa reviews if you haven't integrated enough. There's been a very loose management of integration up until now, and I think that there's a huge call at the moment for much more structure, much more order, and for things to be a lot stricter and harder too.
I think the interesting contrast is with the UK. At the time, of course, will Starmer be seen the last gasp of another order on asylum and migration laws, given, of course, Europe seems to be turning to the right on so many of these different questions.
Yeah, well, you can start with the 10,000 foreign prisoners in our jails if you want some prison space, get rid of them. Just breaking news now, the German Premier has just announced, unfortunately, that there is now 5 confirmed dead from the attack last night. It was 4 as of this morning, it is now 5. Unfortunately, 200 injured.
We've now got Olaf Scholz, there we go, the German Chancellor, speaking to the German press in German, so not quite sure what he's saying, but obviously a terrible time for Germans. And they were just commemorating another Christmas market attack that took place, I think, 8 years ago. But, sadly, this is not the first time this has happened.
Of course not. I know terrorists always try and go for things that are symbolic in a nation. I think there's 2,500 to 3,000 Christmas markets every year in Germany. It's obviously a symbol of German culture, and clearly it was a time to sort of cause as much upset and distress as possible. And they're taking the measures necessary to try and deal with that. We're just lucky, I think, here in the UK we haven't seen something like that in recent years here, but they'll be trying. And certainly, obviously, there's a sense of different people trying to do these things will copy each other's tactics in order to try and inflict the maximum number of casualties possible.
Candice, would you go to a Christmas market this week or next week? Because Surrey police put out that warning on Thursday saying they're going to have armed police patrolling their markets as routine, quote-unquote, routine patrols. But, I mean, it's quite unnerving, isn't it, seeing armed coppers at what's meant to be a very joyful, festive Christmas market?
Yes, I mean, I pause for thought. I think, I've got 3 children, I mean, I'm not a totally free agent. I mean, I think that we should continue to live our lives as normal, but I think the phase I'm in my life now, I think, well, I don't know if I want to take those sorts of risks, but you cannot sit at home terrified. You cannot allow people to terrorise you. The society needs to move on. But I really do think this attitude that we've had up until now, where we sort of just try and manage the risk and contain it, is not sufficient anymore. And I think people are tired of it.
Absolutely.
James, can I ask you about Angela Merkel and her role in all of this? Does she have blood on her hands?
I think that what's so striking is we've had the Angela Merkel memoirs published last month, and really what we've seen in the last 5 years has been a rejection then of what came the sort of 15 years before that. Many different areas in which Angela Merkel has been sort of so vocal in the past, in which so many people here in Britain were keen to praise her and contrast her with sort of regimes, I think, have now come back to bite us. So if in the east it's about Ukraine and Germany's, bizarre dependence on Russia's energy, on defence, it's the issue of basically being a freeloader on America just at the time when the world is getting even less secure. And of course, on migration, there's huge issues as well to answer as well. So I think that her legacy is so striking, how something that seemed so permanent and trumpeted 5 years ago increasingly looks, outdated now.
This liberal worldview, Candice, that people can come from anywhere and essentially fit into any society, and we're all fungible, we might have different skin colour, but essentially we're all the same. This is now being shown to be completely inaccurate, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, I think it's being totally discredited. I think that's sort of like open door policy. People are rejecting it now, and for obvious reasons. And I think we've seen this throughout history. If you look back to the 19th century, when you saw big movements of people all over the world, and the US in particular saw massive influx of people, what usually follows it is a period of things sort of closing up a bit and people start emphasising integration more. And I think that's a natural cycle, and I think that needs to happen. We've had a huge, long period of openness. Maybe now we need to focus a bit more on integration.
OK, thank you, James. Thank you, Candice. Just to reiterate, in the last couple of minutes, the death toll on that German Christmas market attack has gone up to 5. It was 4 this morning, and in the last 10 minutes or so, it's unfortunately just gone up to 5. 200 injured. We'll be back in just a sec. This is Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. I'm Nana Akweer. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
The way in which children are being driven online because we're not taking them seriously offline. And what we're tending to do is seeing the problems entirely on the social media, forgetting the fact that we've given up on children being able to work independently and play independently outdoors. We've basically created a world where the digital bedroom has become this go-to area for a lot of young kids. We've given up on old-fashioned parenting, where we try to cultivate their resilience. And now we blame everything, all the problems that occur online. You have to remember that if you take something like bullying, bullying doesn't have to only take place online. It happens all the time, offline, in everyday life. But yet we only see the problem on the social media, and there's this obsession with the social media where every single problem that afflicts childhood is blamed on it. And that distracts us from actually understanding what we're doing wrong with children. So for me, and I hate when I see children with digital technology, when I see them with smartphones. I'm not a fan. I'm much more concerned about the fact that parents use their digital phones when they're having dinner with their kids and giving very bad examples in relation to that. But the real problem, it seems to me, is offline, and that's why we've got to crack the issue. So for me, the banning issue is entirely a headline-grabbing political gambit. And I think that we should be much more focused on the real problems rather than delude ourselves that anything will improve.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hello, welcome back. Ben and Miriam with you on Saturday Morning Live. Now, today apparently is going to be the busiest shopping day of the year in the UK and Ireland. That's according to latest data.
Well, last year, Brits spent nearly £5 billion between the 21st and the 24th of December, which shows the boost in last-minute gift buying. But will Britain spend even more this year?
Well, let's hear from our GB News West Midlands reporter, Jack Carson, who's got all the details. Jack, where are you, my friend? What's going on? And what's all this about a spending splurge in the final days of Christmas?
Well, we're live on Birmingham High Street, right in the centre of the city. You can see behind me the Christmas market that goes all down the high street here, and you can probably also see some of the crowds that are here trying to get those last-minute Christmas deals, those last bits of Christmas shopping. As you both rightly mentioned, this is going to be a very busy weekend for retail. 39 million people expected to be out across the country shopping today, looking for those Christmas deals. Also online as well, today being one of, for a lot of online retailers, the final day you can buy online and still get that gift arriving in time for Christmas Day. You were talking just how many billion we spent between, you know, now and also Christmas Eve. Just this weekend, it's being dubbed Super Weekend. We're expected across the country, Brits to spend £3 billion. Now, I have been very organised this year, which is unlike me. I've got all my Christmas shopping already done, but plenty of people haven't. We've been speaking to some of those today. Here's what they told us.
I'm saving it for my winter fuel because I'm a pensioner. Thanks to the government.
I think I just kind of spread it out a bit, so I've spent pretty much the same.
Quite early, so I think being able to do that was useful, and yeah, but about the same, I think.
I think my children are quite old now, so the large amount of gifts not quite the same. So no, yeah, they don't want much, so it should be quite an easy one for us this year.
Well, there we go. That's what some of the people on Birmingham High Street have told us today. As you heard there, a lot of people unhappy with losing their winter fuel allowance because they're having to spend a little bit less on Christmas. One gentleman I spoke to has decided he's not even going to shop today, even though he's got time. He's going to leave it till the 23rd and 24th. Apparently, that gives him a bit more excitement trying to get all the presents sorted at the last moment. But what I'm going to do, I think, if we're ready, is to give you a little bit of Christmas cheer, a bit of atmosphere here from the Birmingham Christmas market. I want to introduce you to Jammer, who's a steel drummer here on Birmingham High Street. He, I think, is going to give us a little bit of a Christmas song. Are we ready, Jammer? Here we go. Bit of a Christmas song.
OK, Jack Carson, I'm a bit envious. It seems like there's high energy where you are. Looks good fun. Merry Christmas to you, Jack. Thank you for that.
Doesn't look too busy, does it? I think there's still room to walk up and down the high street there at the moment, though, of course, it's afternoons normally get busy, don't they?
Yes, indeed. Anyway, we keep the festive theme going because some of you might be looking for some ideas to keep the kids occupied now they're off school, or indeed the grandkids.
Indeed. Well, we've got a new guest with us in the studio, a children's author who has spectacularly upcycled her Christmas decorations out of cardboard.
And she's here now to share those exact tips. Josie Dom, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. I love your dress, by the way. You've got the Christmas tree dress on. You got the memo. So, just explain what's going on here. You've got, you're making decorations from cardboard, right?
Yes, I am at home. I made this one out of paper, just so that I could carry it into...
Fantastic Christmas tree, I love it. Yeah, didn't get rained on outside.
No, I collapsed it and then just taped it back together when I got here.
So, just so I'm clear, why cardboard? Is it guess, cheaper, better for the environment?
Yes,
what is it?
Indeed. I'd actually had some furniture delivered in giant cardboard boxes in 2019, and I thought, what can I do with this cardboard?
Yeah.
I can't just throw it out. That feels wrong. So I just made a tree, and then I used that for 2 years, but it's up in the loft and it got ruined. And then I had a double bed delivered, again in cardboard, in 2022. So I again made a giant tree. It's 3 times as big as this.
Fantastic.
and I've used that every year, and I've made some fabric covers to go over it, and I can hang my baubles on the fabric cover, so it looks fantastic.
So is this your Christmas tree? I mean, where would you put this?
Yeah, that one I just made to come in today, but the one I've got at home is 3 times as big, and it's on my dining table.
That's great. So you can decorate it in the same way as you would a standard tree, almost with the fabric addition.
Yeah. So I've put some fabric on it and then sewn like loops on.
Yeah.
And then I can hang the baubles on the loops because it's fabric.
And you've got the tools of your trade here.
Yeah. Well, I've made this, which that's because I love upcycling, and that is like the inside of a.
Shall we just show it to that camera there?
Yeah, so that's the inside of a silver foil bowl.
Oh, yes, OK, the
just covered
tube
it in
inside
fabric.
the middle, yeah.
And then I've got some... Hang it on the wall, there's a ribbon.
Ah, and what are they?
And these are curtain rings.
Rings. Amazing.
Because when you buy a curtain rail, you get the rings,
too many.
but then if you have the curtain that has eyelets, you don't use the rings, so I just use that.
Very good.
And then this one as well. Again, more curtain rings.
Very good.
Camera, isn't it? So
these are great ideas for children.
Yeah,
and adults.
they're really
I like
simple.
them.
I brought some along for you to finish off.
Thank you.
There's a row there.
OK.
Go on, Ben, let's see if you're better at sticking than wrapping.
So just really easy with a glue dot.
So you put what is this? Adhesive?
Yeah, it's a dot. So you just...
Oh, they're really, really good.
Yeah, they are...
yeah, so they're
they can get a bit annoying, but you just get your glue dot.
So what do your friends and family think of this, Josie?
Well, they've told me that it looks lovely.
do you think they mean it?
Yes, of course they do. I mean, I love it, and I kind of...
is it quite therapeutic? Sort of
yeah, it
can
can
like
be,
this
definitely. And
cutting
as a children's author, you know, using your imagination is, you know...
Right, I think that's half stuck on there.
Oh,
now,
how did that not stick?
The glue dot's not...
Dodgy sticky
Have you
tape.
taken the back off it?
There we go.
I like making the paper chains.
So then
that's
you
very
take that bit off
therapeutic.
there.
Brilliant, there we go.
And then...
there you go.
And then you can put some glue dots on the curtain ring.
OK. You do that for me whilst I hold this for the camera.
OK.
So after today, I'm going to go out and buy some... was it the double-sided sticky tape? That was really clever for the wrapping. And then glue dots. They're very good. My kids love making the paper chains. But you see, you can sit there on the sofa and after an hour or two, you've got about 10 metres of paper. What do you do with that? Then you have to save it for next year because then it's precious.
It is. And it's good to reuse your decorations, isn't it?
There we go.
There you go.
Very good. Well done.
So,
Blue Peter, eat your heart out. And where would you hang this?
So that one... So I was thinking I might cut round here.
Yeah.
And then... you know, just add some ribbon and just hang it on the wall.
Yeah.
And same with this one. Just hang it on the wall. That would look good against a... all my walls. Or a window, yeah. Or you can, you know, you can fill the middle. I've got some...
And I guess it's quite low budget as well. I was going around some garden centres the other weekend and you get the lights and the reindeer structures and all sorts. They're so expensive.
Yeah.
I guess this is a good way to save
very low
money.
budget, yeah. And just things that you got at home. Like I happen to have the curtain rings because I bought a curtain pole.
Yeah.
So that's another curtain ring.
Oh,
just
very
ribbon,
good.
random ribbons, and then one there with
the wool.
Wool. So that's kind of like a star in the middle.
And tell us very quickly about your book. You've got a new book out.
Not that new, but this is Animal Olympics. So that's all about the animals taking over the Olympics.
Lovely.
Animal Olympics. Great. Creative and enjoyable fantasy.
Yeah.
Great. Illustrated by Sarah Lou. There we go.
Yeah.
Kids book. What age for kids?
That's sort of age up to age 11.
OK.
So it's all in rhyming story.
It'll suit me then.
Yeah, and beautifully illustrated.
Great. And this one here?
And these two are the start of the Lum series, which is Lum and Lum's mum.
Josie, you're great. You've got amazing energy.
Thank you.
And enthusiasm for Christmas. Where can people find out more about you, your escapades?
Yeah, I'm josiedom.co.uk and I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And
Lovely.
Great. Very inspiring. I might go home and make something.
Yeah, good luck with it.
Merry Christmas to you, Josie. Thank you for coming
Merry
in.
Christmas.
And one man who's been keeping a keen eye on all things cardboard decorations is Sam Francis, and he's got your news headlines.
Very good morning to you. It's fast approaching, in fact, just turned 32 minutes past 11. Let's start with an update on the situation in Germany. We now know that at least 5 people have been killed, including a young child, sadly, and more than 200 injured, many seriously, after a driver rammed an SUV into a crowded Christmas market in the east of the country. The suspect, a 50-year-old Saudi doctor, has been arrested, but officials say he's not known as an extremist. Here, Sir Keir Starmer has called the attack horrific and expressed solidarity with Germany, while Foreign Secretary David Lammy has also offered support to his counterpart. Speaking in the last few minutes, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has called on all Germans to stand united following the major incident. Well, the tragedy comes 8 years after a similar attack in Berlin, where 13 people were killed. Our Home and Security editor Mark White has been looking into the lone attacker believed to be behind the incident.
He is a 50-year-old, originally from Saudi Arabia, who arrived in Germany in 2006 and claimed asylum, having fled Saudi Arabia, wanted by the Saudi authorities over allegations of rape and other criminal offences. However, the German authorities granted him refugee status in 2016 on human rights grounds.
In other news, time is running out today for pensioners to claim their pension credit and secure winter fuel payments for 2024 to 25, with the deadline just hours away. Online applications closed just before midnight tonight, and phone lines will still be open until 3 o'clock this afternoon for any last-minute calls. Around 760 pensioners will be missing out, with 760 million, I should have said, pensioners will be missing out, with up to benefits topping up weekly incomes and unlocking extra support. The change announced by the Chancellor means winter fuel payments now go to only those on means-tested benefits, slashing recipients from almost 11.5 million pensioners to now just 1.5 million. Scrap staff parking charges. That is the call from unions today, as new research has revealed 1 in 4 NHS trusts in England have raised fees for patients, for staff or both in the last 2 years. Patients' charities say the charges unfairly penalise unwell people, while NHS leaders argue financial pressures leave trusts little choice but to charge. The rise, often targeting city centre hospitals, has seen higher earners pay more, while NHS staff collectively spent over £70 million on parking last year alone. Those are the latest headlines for now. Ben and Miriam will be back with you very shortly after this break.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast on the Met Office. Well, for the rest of the day, it's going to be a pretty windy picture, especially across the west. Rain will clear the south, and really most of us seeing a mixture of some showers and some sunshine. The reason for the unsettled weather is this area of low pressure, which is going to really dominate proceedings over the course of the weekend. The wind really strong across parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and Northern England during the course of today. So it may well hamper some travelling conditions here. Warnings are enforced right throughout the weekend. A mixture of sunshine and showers across many parts, but the rain just clinging on across the far south. But here we may well just see temperatures hang into double figures, but for most of us it's going to be a fairly cold afternoon. So as we move into the evening hours, the showers continue to pile in across the north. Some of these showers will turn increasingly wintry, especially across the high ground of Scotland. So combined with the wind, that again could hamper some travelling conditions if you are travelling overnight tonight. Also a few wintry showers developing across Northern Ireland and Northern England, where further south, any showers generally of rain, with that main rain band just beginning to clear across the very far south of England. So throughout the night, the main focus of the showers will be across the northern half of the UK. A few showers further south, but for all of us it's going to be a blustery one. Wind warnings extending further south as we go into Sunday. and generally it's going to be a cold feeling start to the day. Temperatures generally above freezing, but I think we could just see a few icy patches across the northern half of the country. And really, for most of us, Sunday is going to be a day to wrap up warmly. That wind really going to make temperatures really struggle for the course of the day. Further showers, especially across the northern half of the country. Again, risk of some sleet and snow in places. Best of the sunshine across the south, but even here, despite the sunshine, it's going to be feeling pretty cold.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. 11:38. Ben and Miriam with you on Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. Now, sticking with the festive theme, new research shows that as a nation we feel guilty for putting ourselves first.
And apparently the top two things that are sparking our guilt are, number one, spending a day without being productive, and secondly, saying no to an invitation and feeling relieved.
Oh, I'm an expert at that last one, saying no to invitations.
I don't think you should feel guilty about that. As long as you're honest about the reason you're not coming.
Yeah. Well, TV personality and Geordie Shore star Charlotte Crosby is on a mission for us to have a guilt-free Christmas by... Charlotte, you reckon... Good morning to you, thanks for joining us. You reckon we should be binge-watching TV and resting up?
Well, the things that you just said people feel guilty for, first of all, I definitely don't feel guilty for cancelling plans. And especially not at the minute, seeing as I am so heavily pregnant. But we are trying to do this big campaign with Not Guilty Wine to ditch the guilt. And they are a zero alcohol brand. And it is actually another fact that 1 in 5 Brits actually lie about breaking their New Year's Eve resolution, and 50% of them resolutions are actually alcohol related. So we're all basically lying when we're saying we're doing dry Jan. Because it's not happening. And listen, I am heavily pregnant. I haven't drunk for like a year now. So for me, it's been a great excuse to try different alternatives. But I know the pressures that surround this time of year, Christmas, New Year's Eve, all the resolutions. And I just think that by having these alcohol-free alternatives, you can kind of get away from the pressure of like feeling guilty about saying no to having a drink, or feeling guilty about breaking a New Year's resolution. You can kind of skip all of that.
But I'm really interested in this idea of feeling guilty when we're not productive, because for people who you have busy jobs, you know, you spend most of your time working, and if you've got kids as well, you're looking after the house when you get home and things like that. Actually, sometimes having a few days completely off can be quite daunting. So what do you actually do with your time? And I can see why people do feel guilty for just putting their feet up. But you're saying we should take the opportunity and have a rest.
Yes. Let's not feel guilty at all this January. Let's not feel guilty this Christmas or January.
Charlotte, you were a massive boozer, of course, on Geordie Shore, infamously, if you don't mind me saying so. So how are you finding it?
Of course I do not, Ben. It's worldwide known.
How are you finding not drinking?
I haven't drank like that for a good maybe 7 years. You know, that was a big part of my life when I was on Geordie Shore, and a big part of my 20s. And I think a lot of people will agree that when you're in your 20s, it's kind of the thing that you're doing. You're going out with your friends, people are going to unis, people are out on Freshers' Week, living in uni halls. I just wasn't at uni, I was just on Geordie Shore. So I was kind of doing the same thing, but just not getting a degree. So, listen.
Getting a degree in spirits.
Yeah. When I was 30, then my life dramatically changed. You just enter a new decade of your life, don't you? And you want different things. And then I had my first little girl. And when you become a parent, honestly, drinking is the very last thing you want to do.
Yeah.
You just enter a new stage of your life. And don't get us wrong, I still like to go out for someone's birthday or a nice occasion and have a couple of tipples, but I am not the party girl that you all know and love. I hope you still love us, no.
It's great to see you, Charlotte, and good luck with the pregnancy. And I think zero alcohol
Thank you.
might be an idea.
Yeah.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Christmas baby, very good. Now, often the peak of our Christmas Day celebrations is, of course, the Christmas lunch.
Yes, but with so many elements to juggle, the potatoes, the veg, the meat, how can the chefs in the kitchen handle the pressure?
And the all-important question, what on earth do you do with the leftovers?
Joining us now is the man who should have all the answers to that, celebrity chef Jameson Stocks. Jameson,
hi.
Good morning, mate. Thank you for joining us.
No worries.
You were just telling me you were cooking recently for who? Kim Kardashian?
Kim Kardashian, yeah. I did a meal for her a couple of months back, and
What did you cook?
I can't really say that, but
okay.
yeah.
Oh, come on.
Come on, I have a lot of NDAs, so
really?
yeah.
Including what
She loves phenomenal food. She's very simple, but she likes it elevated. Put it that way.
Nice. Okay. And so, in terms of Christmas, any tips? Any hints? The leftovers are a big one, I guess.
Well, I think people overspend at Christmas, overbuy.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, Boxing Day, the shops are open, so you don't need to spend too much. And I think you should keep it quite minimal. Eat what you want to eat, but don't overindulge because it'll just go to waste.
Do you go for the classic turkey roast with all the trimmings, or any kind of special features?
I actually don't. I actually don't like turkey too much.
Are you a vegan?
I'm not a vegan. No, don't be silly. Don't be silly. I actually like duck.
Oh.
Yeah, my children like duck as well. Or goose, but goose is a little bit expensive, so...
We had partridge one year.
Beautiful.
Kept it very traditional.
Yeah, that's
cool.
cool.
Farm and got some partridge. It was quite irony, though. I guess that's from the pellets.
Yeah.
Bullets.
Sometimes you get them with the pellets left in it.
Yeah.
You know?
Not good for your
that's
fillings.
true.
Yeah, they do.
Have you got any tips for the vegetables? Because obviously you can just do plain sprouts, everything like that, but anything to kind of spice it up a bit?
Well, my family's originally from Belgium, so what they do in Belgium, they boil the sprouts up, and then they cut them in half, and they put a little bit of brown sugar and saute them in the pan.
Ooh.
It's really quite nice, yeah.
That's good.
You can put some walnuts or some chestnuts in there, or whatever you want, but bacon, whatever.
Even better.
So it's such simple little things like that, which I don't know about you guys at home, the viewers, but I would never think of doing that.
No.
And when you think of Brussels sprouts, you think boring. I mean, I quite like them, but most people think they're quite plain boring.
Traditionally, smoked bacon would go nice with Brussels sprouts as well.
What about the roast potatoes? Do you subscribe to the traditional method, parboil them, shake them to give them a bit of powder, fat?
It's not the kind of thing I do in the restaurant, but at home, I love it. I just give it a little shake with a little sieve, just to kind of break it up on the edge. And then I let it cool down completely, then I put it into hot fat. So the edges get nice and crispy.
Very nice.
And you've just opened a new restaurant down in, Chichester, West Sussex?
Yeah, I've opened a restaurant in a food hall with some phenomenal local people. So if you want to like the best burger there, the best burger in Sussex, you want to go to the Three Bros, which is brilliant. Then we've got a Mexican place down there. We've got a couple of Chineses and like Asian, Pan-Asian. Then you've got my restaurant, which is slow smoked meats.
Yeah.
So we do, ribs of beef. We do all sorts.
Would you ever suggest, say, a burger or some ribs over a Christmas dinner, or is that
1,000,000%? Yeah. If you want to have great food, come to Chichester. We've got 6 or 7 restaurants under one roof. The best of Sussex is there, and I'm there. I'm teaching my staff at the moment, and then obviously I need to go and open my other restaurants.
And what's your plans for the new year, for 2025?
I go back to South Africa in January to open another restaurant, which opens in February, and I'll be back here. I'll be back here soon.
Great.
I think you need to take Charlotte Crosby's advice and give yourself a rest. Always on the move.
I actually know Charlotte from years ago, so I hope she's well. And it's going to be. I need a rest. I did my tour in South Africa, then I came straight back, opened the restaurant. I need to go straight back, and then I open in New York as well in March.
Oh my goodness me.
Yeah, you're going to come down and eat at my restaurant, aren't you?
I'll pop down to Chichester, yeah. New York a bit better?
Well, you could. Well, come to Cape Town.
I've never been to South Africa, have you?
No, I haven't. But
You need
we'd
to
love
go.
to go. But thank you so much.
No worries,
for
thank
your
you.
tips.
Appreciate it. Good to see you. Have a good Christmas.
You too, guys.
Happy New Year, rather. Right, still to come, we'll be joined in the studio by baker Sophia Butler for some festive sweet treats.
But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, here is the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Storm Dino so clears, but it remains often cloudy and sometimes windy around coastal areas, particularly for the Canary Islands and Madeira. A fairly strong northwesterly flow dragging in some cloud and some outbreaks of rain at times. Fairly settled across Portugal and Spain, but as we move further east, cloudy with some showers at times, particularly for Rome and at times parts of Greece. But it generally looks like it's improving by the time we reach the middle of the week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's Patrick Christie's tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
What do you think?
Morning. I think we have failed young drivers as a society, and we need to train them better and train them earlier. I think that the idea of stopping them carrying passengers for 6 months is a good idea, because you've got peer pressure within a car. So yes, but I think graduated licenses are really difficult. You've got what we call the 3 E's, which is education, educating kids to drive earlier, and engineering, which is making roads better and safer, and then comes enforcement at the end of it. So I think we're failing in these two first ones, the education and the enforcement. I put my kids, all 3 of them, through a thing called Young Driver, which allows under 17s to drive on private land with ADI instructors and learn the craft of driving and all the below the dashboard stuff and hazard awareness long before they try and do this very compressed period of time to learn about driving. I think we're failing them. So I want to see it in schools, and I want to see them being taught much, much earlier.
Nobody's actually pointing the finger of blame, I think, at the young driver, but maybe young drivers don't understand how different it is. You feel you can drive, you've passed your test, and then a load of your friends get in the back, and suddenly the mood is different, the pressure on you as a driver is very different, showing off, just larking around and having a great time. Aisha, how do you feel about the fact that clearly young drivers do need to be protected almost from themselves, don't they?
Well, I do agree with some of what Quentin has just said, especially about starting early, and especially about getting young people used to the dangers of being on the road.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Now, making gingerbread, whether it's gingerbread men or gingerbread houses, is a really important part of Christmas, isn't it? What better activity on the weekend before the big day to get in the kitchen and experiment?
Yeah, very good fun for the kids as well. Well, to put us through our paces with everything gingerbread is Sophia Butler, Start Baker. Sophia, good morning.
Hi, thank you.
What's going on here? You've got gingerbread men. I mean, that's called gingerbread men anymore. Is it gingerbread people?
Persons.
Only joking. Gingerbread men. Yes. You've got 6 of them here. Should we decorate some?
Yeah, let's go for it. So I brought with me some royal icing.
Yep.
This is just pre-made. You know, we don't want to spend hours making. You can have a little go. Hours making royal icing. So pre-made in your little bag.
Yeah.
You give it a good twist so it doesn't pop out the top. And really straightforward. You just start with the eyes, just little dots.
I think even I could do this.
I think you can.
And another little dot.
Have you got any alternative ideas on decorations? Instead of just the normal smiling gingerbread man, can we have anything?
I do.
Sort of alternative?
Yeah, I mean, we could start with the alternative one, actually. A lot of people don't know this, but if you turn your gingerbread man upside down, it actually becomes a little reindeer. And that's really simple. You just do a little line here. I think I've cut my bag a bit thick, but imagine if it was lovely thin lines and you just make little antlers like that.
Good.
And I've brought these little eyes with me, these fun little googly eyes, which my kids find really fun.
Oh.
So there you go.
Oh, that's great.
And then,
yeah,
you see it now?
I was sitting there
see where
watching
it's
you
going?
thinking to myself, I don't know what's going on there, but I
see where it's going?
Should we pick that up and show it to the camera? If you show it to 2 just there.
There you go. Where am I looking? 2, sorry, right in front of me. There you go.
There we go. Little reindeer. So all you do is turn it upside down.
Turn it upside down. You could do the antlers, you could do the eyes.
It definitely needs a red nose.
Exactly. This is Rudolph. We're going to go red. Now, these are just little pre-coloured little icings. Again, don't make life hard for yourself. We're all busy people. Just buy the ready-made ones, and there they are.
Very cute.
It's a little reindeer, just so straightforward. Doesn't have to take you hours. You know, very straightforward. And then, you know, go back to your... Oh, you guys are doing great. To your gingerbread man, give him a little smile. I love little smiles.
Mine looks a bit evil.
Dots.
I'm not sure what I've done with the eyes, but it doesn't look very
No, that's fantastic. Oh, yours is a bit grumpy.
I'm doing...
It is a bit grumpy.
So, yeah, and I like to do a little decoration on the legs as well,
Guess
and the
who this
arms.
is? Any guesses? Who's this?
Oh, I'm not sure.
He's got the red rosette. He's got the specs.
It's
the Prime Minister, Sir Keir
Oh,
Starmer.
very good. That is very creative. You can also get these really lovely, coloured dots.
For those listening on the radio, yeah.
And then, yeah, they're all coloured. They're, again, ready-made little dots. Let's not spend too long on your on the decorating. So, yeah, this is really fun to do with your kids and adults as well. Get lots of adults buy these kits. And it's just a really, really fun activity. And you guys have done absolutely brilliant.
Well, I've eaten Keir Starmer's
You
head.
have eaten him, yeah.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Where can we buy these kits? Just supermarkets and...
Yeah, I mean, I run my own mobile tea room, so I personally do sell them as well.
Go on then, give it a plug.
Can I give it a plug? It's Sugar Tea Room, sugartearoom.co.uk. And I currently just serve North London, but who knows one day where else we might be able to post out to. Oh, you win the prize today, 100%.
Why are you always trying to beat me?
I'm just competitive. She's definitely beat you,
Every year in my house,
Professional over here.
we make gingerbread houses or some sort of construction.
Oh, amazing.
And they last forever. I mean, I think it was 6 months once before we threw them out.
Exactly, yeah, they're good fun and, like, kids love them. My girls, Anastasia and Louise, they absolutely love doing it. Tastes good. Freshly baked yesterday,
Very
so I hope you enjoy them.
Some gingery.
So with your kits and other kits, the gingerbread doesn't come pre-made, right? You have to bake it yourself.
You have to bake it yourself, yeah. I do these really lovely jars, and all the ingredients are in the jars, and you just literally pour them out, and on my website there's a recipe and you follow it. It's really, really straightforward.
Great.
Miriam, we've got a few minutes left. I'm going to do you.
Oh, very, very
Big smile.
good.
Okay.
Give it a good squeeze, that's it.
Get the old...
Bit of, you're going to go blonde hair.
Black,
this
but
is
it's a bit
perfection.
Look at this.
Wow, actually,
I need the black.
I see the resemblance.
You are actually wearing almost white trousers today, so...
Very excellent. Amazing.
There we go.
Well, it is your last Saturday morning live, Ben, isn't
It's
it?
Miriam.
Oh, yes, I heard
It's
it's your
my
last
last ever
show.
Saturday morning show. I am staying with GB News, but it's my last.
I don't think the fantastic lady who did our hair and makeup would be very impressed with that, Ben.
With what, sorry? I missed
With
that.
how you've done what you've done to my hair.
I think it looks great. Can we show that on one?
Your trousers haven't really worked. Looks like a nappy.
Looks like I've had an accident.
Oh, you guys are amazing.
So this is me, apparently. Thanks, Miriam.
Oh, dear. I haven't done your jumper yet.
This is Miriam here with the flowing
Great
blonde
hair.
locks. This is me. My hair's a bit short.
Oh, dear. I think we need to have a few more lessons from Sophia, don't you?
Yes, anytime. I'd love to come back.
Sophia, thank you so much for that.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been an interesting show, very festive.
Yes, that's right. And
thank you, Miriam, for your company as well.
your last one. But
my last one.
What are you on to do next?
So I'm taking over the Saturday and Sunday night 9 to 11 p.m. show, Ben Leo tonight, officially starting in the new year, but I'm covering tonight. So thank you at home for all your support, viewers, for the last 10 months. Thank you for tuning in today, and a very Merry Christmas to you. Dawn Neeson is next. Merry Christmas.
Imagine getting a call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Tubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
This is a topic very close to my heart. I have become fully convinced that social media, smartphones are one of the primary causes of mental health